Warning, this video may contain graphic images and very dark themes. Be mindful before you watch it, because we are returning to the comic book world of vinyl for the issue 4, and this is about revenge. If you are lost in the sauce, go check out the playlist on my channel. Now, let's get into it, because this episode starts out with sowing of flesh. Literally, Rennie made a promise, and this promise she was going to keep. We see in the shadows of this very room were two corpses. We cannot see their face, but we know they are without skin, because it's their skin she's using to make a new mask. With tears in her eyes, she did her work when Vic entered the room. Vic was running for her life because she was being chased down by a goddamn behemoth looking to tear her apart. She called to Rennie, but Rennie was busy. She was too focused, and just like Guy said, you don't talk to Rennie when she's in kill mode, especially when she's about to have her dip in the life juice. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. Anyways, Vic tried to protect herself, and Rennie went for a dip. Vic still calling to her for support. She was already underneath. But our boy Walter was about to face a monster of his own, because right now he was helpless. He was the strongest of them, but he couldn't do much because of his Alzheimer's. And he kept calling to him to use the mask. He thought that meant offer it to the monster, but he was wrong. Dennis, realizing he was screwed, accepted his fate. But at that moment, Vic, she proved that she was supposed to be the MVP, because even facing down death, she said, if I'm going, I'm playing this goddamn music. Making sure the hardwired into the bunker's calm, the music echoed everywhere, and he heard it. Our boy Snap was back, grabbing a hold of the axe, about to split his best friend. He was ready to do his work, saying to himself, ooh, I like this song. Mother turned around thinking he was just an amateur, but she learned quickly he wasn't. He just turned his head. Using the axe he collected, he split her in half in front of Dennis. Dennis was too shocked to speak. Walter must have realized this, so to break the tension, he took off the mask and said, hey Walter, my guy, how you doing? All this was well and good, but Vic was still about to die. Thankfully, Rennie was still in the room. You see, she was taking a dip, but she was not hiding. She was waiting for the perfect opportunity, and when he presented himself, she emerged from the life juice of the twins. Vic, seeing this, decided to provide support, holding down this monster while Rennie strikes, but he was still a hulking beast. With one direct punch to Rennie, she went flying. Grabbing a hold of Vic, he was going to snap her like a twig, but Rennie was too dangerous. She went like the Flash and took out his legs, bringing him to his knees as she went in for the strike, directly taking him out. And she wasn't done. She took off her mask and stepped in closer. She wanted him to see. She wanted him to know who sent him to hell, as his eyes went cold. Anyways, that was it. They returned back to Walter and Dennis and found a corpse in the middle of the room, with Dennis throwing up. Dennis was supposed to be special. He was supposed to be the one catching cereals, but he couldn't handle this. Walter had to wrap her up just to keep him from throwing up. But at first glance, Walter could tell something was wrong. He looked at his girl and asked, are you okay? And she really wasn't. He saw what she had in her arms and realized, are those the twins? And she said yes, and he embraced her because he knew this would have made them so happy. Vic had also managed to keep the records and gave it to Dennis to gift it to Walter, but Dennis couldn't. He still hated Walter. Walter was a murderer. He was a serial killer. It did not matter if he came here to save my life. Realizing they were one person short, Walter wanted to know what happened to Guy. And Vic told him, Guy said I should tell you, it was glorious. And this brought Walter to life. He really said that. He really said glorious. Remembering back to the day he met up with Guy and offered him this adventure, Guy was disposing of some things when he was interrupted by a friend. As he threw away the last of the things, he saw that it was Walter, and he looked extremely uninterested. He looked bored, and Walter understood, because they were from a former generation. They had experienced the rush of the job. the true job. Now it just feels tedious, it feels boring. Both understanding that it's probably old age that would take him out first, but he didn't want to go out like that. That's why he was very interested in this job, especially when Walter told him he knew something evil was inside this building. He wanted to go out glorious. And Walter assured him it will be very glorious, my friend. But now their adventure has come to an end. It was time for them to leave. They had come here for Dennis, and they had got Dennis, and he was alive. This was a successful operation, and all they lost were some friends who were serials. Dennis, realizing something was off, he turned around to see Walter not climbing the steps. He asked him, "Aren't you coming along?" And Walter said, "Nah, I have to stay back and handle this properly, because if I don't, she's going to come for you, your kid, and my friends. I will not allow that to happen. So go. Live your life." At this very moment, Vic was so overwhelmed with emotions, she ran and hugged him. He was a serial. He kidnapped her. But she had apparently developed feelings for him. Not romantic, but she looked at him as a friend. Remembering a few hours earlier when she was kidnapped, bound, gagged even, and he was there talking to her, making it clear that he knows she doesn't fuck with him. He knows that she sees him as the enemy, but he assures her he's doing this from a good place. He just wants to save his friend. And he also assured her tonight will be different than anything you have ever experienced. It'll probably get you a promotion. So please help me. Before he reached over and removed the tape from her mouth. And she said, "Okay, just promise me one thing. You will not kill me." And he promised her, "I will not kill you." And he kept that promise because back in the present, he was literally sacrificing himself for them. As he walked, listening to his tunes over the speakers, he snapped his fingers, because that's why they call him Snap. Looking to Dennis, she told him, give him the record now before it's too late. But Dennis couldn't. He was a bad guy. Dennis was not so forgiving. And honestly, I think Walter knew this because he didn't even turn around. He just kept snapping and snapping till he faded into dark.